Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back. If you joined us yesterday, Alex, a proud member of the Television Critics Association, um, attended the first day of ABC's presentations where we learned about shows like How I Met Your Father, um, Blackish's final season, and Judge Steve Harvey.
Mm-hmm.
But today we're back with three new shows. Three shows. American Idol, which is, what season is this? Like
It's
10?
the fifth. It's the fifth season on ABC. It's the 20th season overall in the show's
Wow.
history.
That's crazy. Anyway. And then a new drama coming to ABC called Promised Land, and a comedy on Freeform, Single Drunk Female. So where do you want to get started?
Well, in order that they went in today, Promised Land was first, but why don't we start with Idol, just because we were just talking about it. And there's a new trailer that they released today that you can check out on YouTube. If you go to Laughing Place and search American Idol, you'll find that. And one of the interesting things, because it's the 20th season, they're introducing a platinum ticket. So if you're a fan of Idol, you know that when somebody auditions and is sent to Hollywood, they give them a golden ticket. This platinum ticket, they were kind of vague about what it actually does for the contestant. They only give one away in each city as kind of a special thing, and platinum being the 20th anniversary gift if it was a marriage, but I'm guessing it's something like a fast pass to the show itself, to being part of the top. What do they? It's not top 10 anymore. I haven't watched the show regularly in a long time. Used to be top 10 when they went live, but now it's like top 20, top 15.
Something. I remember I went to 12 at one point. I don't know if it expanded.
I think it had
last year
gone
was a
to
little
15,
weird too.
but they were eliminating 2 a night or something until they got to 10, and then it went to 1 a night. I don't know. Anyway, I'm guessing it makes them safe, or maybe they can use it in the event that they were in the bottom to be eliminated to save their place. But yeah, that was it. The only other really kind of interesting new thing that was kind of funny from it was Luke Bryan had lost his voice during he was having a hard time talking during the presentation. So when people would ask him questions, it was just kind of funny that, the judges are all singers and he couldn't really talk today. Promised Land, I'm very excited for. I'm going to be doing weekly recaps of this show. It's basically a nighttime soap opera, soap drama that takes place in wine country. Obviously, it's all filmed in Southern California. So one of the interesting things was the winery that's in the show. They actually film on 2 different wineries in Southern California to create the winery within the show. One of the kind of obvious fun questions that was asked of the cast is which wines they would be if they had to pick. And we learned that one of the actors actually doesn't drink. They did, just for research purposes, try different wines for the show, but they otherwise aren't a drinker, which was interesting.
Yeah, and it's gonna debut 2 episodes on Hulu the day after the first episode airs, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So the first episode is going to have its kind of standard premiere on ABC, but the next day when that episode goes to Hulu, this is a first for ABC. They're going to debut the second episode with it. We did see Fox do that in the fall with what's it called, 1 in a Million, their show about putting on a reality competition show, which is produced by 20th Television. They did that. It was not just on Hulu, but also on Fox.com and Tubi, which is Fox's streaming service. But they released that second episode to streaming along with the first episode. So if you came back the second week, you may have already seen that episode. But one of the things that Craig, the head of ABC and Hulu Entertainment, was talking about yesterday that was interesting was that Hulu's demographic skews about 25 years younger than your average ABC viewer. And so they've actually had a lot of success with the after ABC broadcast on Hulu for things like Dancing with the Stars. Dancing with the Stars had a great year, and the reason for it was because after its live broadcast, a younger audience is watching it regularly on Hulu. So I think that's part of the goal here, is to try and get people hooked on Promised Land by giving them 2 episodes to stream in that first week, and then you'll get the single episodes after air, like normal.
So interesting. And that show the Promised Land debuts next.
Is it Thursday, the 20th? Or I think it's the 24th, isn't it?
So that would be okay, Monday. That makes sense. So a week from Monday. So
yeah.
Next Monday is obviously the NFL wildcard game. So the Monday after that will be Promised Land, and then on the 25th you can catch 2 episodes on Hulu.
Yep.
And then we've got Single Drunk Female, which is a freeform comedy. Mary Margaret is going to be covering that for us. Huh?
Dramedy.
Excuse me, princess.
Well, no, I'm not saying that because if you say it's a comedy and our viewers go looking for a laugh riot and get something that's a lot more, it's an hour. It's an hour-long show. Something that's a little more. An hour. Oh, is it a half hour? The way
okay. It has a 1 hour premiere, which is 2 episodes, and then
okay.
So
I see. Well, I mean, so the premise of Single Drunk Female, it's a girl in her 20s, moved to New York City, but became hooked on alcohol and is now forced to move back home with her mother, who's played by Ali Sheedy, who was on the call. I'm a big fan of 80s teen comedies. So Ali Sheedy from Breakfast Club, Made to Order, quite a few things from the 80s. She's very recognizable. And it was neat having her there, a little bit surreal. Because I watched her so much in movies when I was younger, but it's an interesting concept. So the main character, who's played by Sophia Black D'Elia, sorry about the mispronunciation, she goes home and is in a 12-step rehab program. She's given a sponsor to help her through it, who's a little bit more mature. And one of the things that's interesting, and I didn't actually know this about Alcoholics Anonymous, I guess it's sort of like an unwritten rule, but you're not supposed to engage in a relationship when you're in AA for that first year. And on top of that, when she goes back home, she finds out that her former best friend is now engaged to her former boyfriend. And so she's having a hard time coping with that. So she's not only going sober, but put in situations that would drive most people to drink. And so, but they talked a lot about the care that they took with that concept of alcoholism, that it's not making fun of being an alcoholic or trying to make light of it. They do treat it seriously. And they also treat Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12-step program seriously within the show as well.
So all in all, so we had, if I'm doing my math right, across ABC and Hulu and Freeform, we had 4 new shows that you profiled and 2 returning shows, Blackish and American Idol.
Yep.
What's your top pick of the 4 shows? And just to refresh everyone's memory, Judge Steve Harvey, courtroom reality show, Single Drunk Female, which was the dramedy we talked about, Promised Land was 1 hour soap, and How I Met Your Father, half-hour-ish streaming comedy.
I'm a big fan of Hilary Duff, so I'm tempted to say How I Met Your Father, but to be honest, Promised Land looks so promising that's my top pick. I think Promised Land is going to be this season's Big Sky.
Which we don't know when that's returning.
We do not know when that's returning. We know it will return. When is up in the air.
And just to talk a little bit about non-Disney stuff, you also attended a presentation from the CW about a show that debuted yesterday called Naomi. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you learned about that show?
Yeah, Naomi. It's written and produced and created by Ava DuVernay, who is a name that everyone should recognize. Sorry, my dog just bumped my laptop. but Ava DuVernay, she directed Disney's A Wrinkle in Time, but beyond that, she's a big time director and producer, and a big deal because she's one of the few Black women directors in Hollywood right now. She's not directing it, but she is writing and producing Naomi, which is based on a DC comic, which had a fairly short run. She's joined on that by Jill Blankenship, who was the showrunner of Arrow, and this is her third DC show for the CW. So it all fits within that world. They reference Superman. It airs back to back with Superman and Lois. But it is something different from DC and the CW. It is about a teenage girl, person of color, who discovers she has powers and gets kind of thrown into the superhero world. But I haven't watched the show, but they did stress that, tonally, it's a departure from what DC typically does on the CW, which I think should set it apart. So it's definitely worth checking out. I'm interested in seeing it. I just haven't had the time for it yet.
Okay, so we will be back on Friday at a to be determined time to talk about Disney Plus. So they're going to have a day of these things during. I guess typically when you're in person, these things go on all day, but since everyone's on Zoom and it lasts, this whole process is lasting like 2 months. It's going to be virtual. I mean, it's going to be half a day because it's virtual. So. Probably about another 3 or 4 presentations you're going to get to see there. So we'll talk all about that when you're able to share what they are and what we've learned about some new content coming to Disney Plus in the next couple months. So we look forward to that. And today is Wednesday, so don't forget tomorrow, 4 p.m., same bat channel. Rebecca Mosley and Mike Celestino and a special guest will be doing Who's the Boss Live, discussing the latest episode of the Book of Boba Fett. And I believe the special guest is Michael Mack. So they'll be talking about the latest episode as well as any other Star Wars news and views from our Star Wars content team. So thanks so much for joining us. Any last words, Alex?
No, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, see you Friday.
We'll see you Friday.